Hey, how's it going, people? Welcome back to our channel. And Champions League draw has happened, and I'm not gonna lie, it could cause some upsets, quite interesting ones to be honest, as a matter of fact, because people say it's a bit of a boring draw, and I get it to an extent, but at the same time, there are some cliffhangers to a degree, which I'm very interested to see how it's gonna pan out, because at the moment we're gonna look at the knockout phase, who is gonna play who, and then we're gonna look at the overall picture, of course, right? So overall, the pairs are weird because, for example, you see Monaco versus PSG. Like, it's a weird one seeing two teams from the same league play so early in the tournament. And to be honest, Monaco have beaten PSG in recent times, so it's gonna be interesting to see how PSG respond, because last year as well, PSG were not the greatest. Obviously, in the group stages, in the league stage, they barely got through. After that, they went to win it all, right? PSG have some injuries, I'm not gonna lie, but they are doing some great job. They're getting better, and I don't know whether it's gonna happen this season as well, but Enrique somehow knows how to get the team clicking, per se, overall, for the second part of the season, right? Because also, over in Ligue 1 as well, it's not looking that light work, let's just put it that way, because PSG have 45 points, right? They are first in the league, but Lens, for example, have 43 points, only 2 points behind. It's not that big of a difference. Obviously, Marseille have fallen off. They didn't get through, which is quite sad, I'm not gonna lie, but the story how they fell out and how Benfica got through, who we're gonna get in a second, it was actually fantastic to some degree. This is what football is all about, of course. But yeah, it's very hard to say that PSG are not going to go through, because they have just too much quality in the squad. Karabakh versus Newcastle seems like a no-brainer. Obviously seems like a no-brainer, I'll just put it that way. At the same time, Karabakh, at least at home, so to speak, because if I'm not mistaken, they don't play actually at their home ground, because that's way too far to travel. But they are a very good team. They are a very good team. They throw a challenge to anyone. Newcastle also, they are not the most stable team, as we have seen in Premier League, also in Champions League, although they just drew against PSG, which was also one benefit why they finished 12th, let's just put it that way. But yeah, definitely, I think Newcastle should be getting the job done also quite easily. The next one next games are starting to get a bit interesting, let's just put it that way. You got Galatasaray versus Juventus. Juventus, obviously, they have a very good squad. They're playing some decent football. Obviously, they're not the Juventus what they used to be, but they are doing some good job. They have Yildiz, of course. He's carrying the team. They have Conceição and some good players also in the midfield, defense as well. I think they're gonna struggle. I think genuinely they're gonna struggle against Galatasaray. Galatasaray, again, they are building basically a team for Champions League to a degree, signing all the players they have, right? And having Osimhen there, Sane, and players like that. They are building a team for Champions League, because in their eyes, Turkish league, like, it's basically their ground. Most of the time they manage to come out on top. Obviously, it's gonna be interesting to see how it pans out for them this season, because Turkish league table as well, it's, I don't even know how to describe this, because it seems like very straightforward at times. At the moment, it's wait, give me a sec. Turkish Super League table, right? They are first, but Fenerbahce are only 3 points behind, 1 game difference. Trabzonspor are 4 points behind. I don't think they're gonna keep up till the end of the season, but again, they are not that far off. Let's just put it that way. So they're doing a very good job overall. So I think this contest is gonna be closer than people expect, especially the game at Turkey is gonna be the rough one. Next one, Atletico Madrid versus Club Brugge, is the one where I have my eye on, one of the biggest games I have my eye on, because Club Brugge is a very, very solid side, very strong side. Especially at home, they managed to throw a game to Barcelona. They managed to throw a game against most of the teams. Against Arsenal as well, they didn't show the best of their qualities, but definitely had some good instances, some good moments, some good situations where if they had maybe a bit more quality, they could have gotten more out of, right? So against Atletico Madrid, who are 50-50, very, very shaky. If you look at it, they finished 14th, right? So pretty in the middle of the pack, right? Arsenal beat them easily. They are not the strongest, they're not the weakest, they're not the Atletico Madrid they used to be. At the same time, they have quality players which should also get them some good situations, some good games, some good results. Simeone definitely will know what to do, and I think experience in this instance is gonna go a long way, and they always are fighters, and this is gonna be a very close contest, I think. In Spain, maybe not so much, but saying that, obviously we're gonna talk about Bodo Glimt in a second, but Bodo Glimt beat Atletico Madrid at their ground in Spain. So they are not also a very, not that solid team in Europe. Europe is definitely different football compared to La Liga. Europe's different football compared to Premier League and all this stuff. We all know this. So this contest is gonna be a rough one. Definitely is gonna be a very interesting one to keep an eye on. The next one is the real one. Benfica versus Real Madrid. I don't know whether these draws tend to be rigged or not, because there are lots of speculations about this, right? But the way Benfica beat Real Madrid at their ground in Portugal, with Trubin, goalkeeper, scoring the last goal in 90 plus something minute, to get the 24th place, by the way, and to win 4-2 and on goal difference go into the knockout phase above Marseille, right? Mourinho also first time in his life, for looking at the time how long he's been the coach, he's experienced stuff like this. It's gonna be a very interesting one, especially with Real Madrid. If you look at this, if you look at Real Madrid, they are just not it. They have names, but they are not the same. Let's be real, they're not the same. Since Kroos, Modric in recent times have left, it's done. Their midfield is absolutely non-existent, because when Jude was firing, it was when Modric was still there. Mbappe seems to be the only one who is actually doing stuff. Vinicius is here or there, on and off. Obviously, Rodrigo is banned because of the red card and everything. So, Real Madrid, definitely, they are not the same. The heritage that Real Madrid used to possess in Champions League is definitely, at least currently, under some question marks for me. Because there is a specific stature, there's a specific aura about Real Madrid in Champions League, in La Liga and everything. And in the last few years, definitely I don't see it and I don't feel it from Real Madrid. So it's gonna be interesting, especially since Benfica and Mourinho already have shown that they can beat Real Madrid at home. I think this could be a very rough, very tight one as well, if cards go their way, because Jose Mourinho, ex-Real Madrid manager, obviously one of the great spells there as too. So it's gonna be very nice to see what's gonna happen there. Definitely it's gonna be very nice to see what's happening there, and how Benfica is gonna do this, because I definitely believe that they can cause an upset, just like La Bruges against Atletico Madrid. I definitely believe also Benfica, there is a possibility that they can cause an upset, even though Benfica have been not the greatest, to say the least, this season. But they might be doing some miracles. Mourinho pulled one off to the head there, right? So it's definitely a one to keep an eye on. Bodo Glimt versus Inter Milan. Now, looking at Bodo Glimt's story, right, where they come from, 54,000 people live there, they play on AstroTurf and everything. They needed 2 wins from the last 2 games to qualify, right? The last 2 games they had was against Man City and Atletico Madrid. Home against Man City, they absolutely annihilated them. And away at Atletico Madrid, where they won, by the way. Yes, they won away in Spain. And they are a bit of an underdog that tend to go sometimes, let's just say, underrated, for lack of a better word, because they somehow, for the last few years, they have a very solid side. Whether it's the fact that they have to play very high up north and they are artificial pitch and their home game's a massive advantage, because it definitely feels that way, right? They are a very strong unit, very strong team, and I definitely think they're gonna throw Inter Milan a challenge. Now, looking at Inter Milan, they should be beating them easily, like on paper. Inter Milan, for the longest time as well, they were third in the table. But the last 2 games, they dropped the ball big time. Especially when they lost to Arsenal, then they drew, I think it was, or they lost, I don't remember, I think they drew. And they dropped from top 8 to 10th. So now they have to play this knockout phase, and it's gonna be very interesting, because again, Inter Milan are not the same. They're going for the title in Serie A, but AC Milan not that far off. I think Napoli are also gonna recover. It's gonna be very interesting. I think Bodo Glimt is gonna be the dark horse in all of this. Definitely is gonna be a dark horse in all of this. And looking at this, would not be surprised if at least in one game, Bodo Glimt definitely are gonna basically take their bite out of them, especially if the first game is in Norway, right? And they not gonna let go. Then the second leg at San Siro, that will be most likely a different story. Borussia Dortmund versus Atalanta. Now, this is the pairing which for me is a bit of an underwhelming one, but mostly for two reasons. First things first, Borussia Dortmund are not the same, and Borussia Dortmund more feels now like a selling club than actually being a proper club, right? With selling those players like Bellingham, Dembele, and Holland. Obviously, it's very hard for them to hold on to them when they are genuinely they feel like the best player in the league sometimes. But they have changed their maybe approach to the players, how they shift the things around, and it doesn't feel the same. They doesn't feel the same energy from them, right? At the same time, last season as well, they were fantastic at home. Away they had a bit of a struggle, but at home they were absolutely phenomenal. So I would not put them past them to beat Atalanta as well. Atalanta too, they are a 50-50 side, especially now with Ademola Lookman most likely going to Fenerbahce as I'm recording this. They're definitely going to lose something, but they still have players, they still have the quality, but I think Atalanta will not have, let's just say, enough to get past Borussia Dortmund. And the last one, Olympiacos versus Bayer Leverkusen. I'm not gonna lie, cannot say much, because we beat Olympiacos. Bayer Leverkusen is not the same as it used to be against Xabi Alonso, and they are a bit of a coin flip in those terms. However, if we look at the overall picture, it is looking very, very interesting, because as you can see, there are the pairings, right, which plays everyone in playoff rounds. Now, the biggest thing is, where I'm looking at this, is Arsenal, because I'm an Arsenal fan. And Arsenal either can get, based on this, of course, Borussia Dortmund, basically from games from Borussia Dortmund and Olympiacos, and by Leverkusen and Atalanta, there is gonna be another draw, then we're gonna find out, obviously. But I'm not too much worried. I should be, obviously, because Champions League over 2 games, anyone can beat anyone. But I'm more looking at the quarterfinals of this stage. And depending on which side we go, it could be 2 completely different scenarios for Arsenal. Because on one side, we can get City, Inter, Real Madrid, all the big dogs, right? Then we can get Barcelona, Chelsea, PSG, who else is there? Juventus, Liverpool, imagine Spurs, in semi-finals, right? But there again, we can basically get the big dogs, Real, City, Barcelona, get all these teams. On the other hand, we can actually dodge a bullet if we get basically drawn in the other side. On the opposite side, we could get a bit easier way to the final, right? And the nuts part is, Bayern Munich, just like Arsenal, are one of the favorites to win it all, right? And we cannot face Bayern Munich until we get to the finals. So it's gonna be very, very interesting. Obviously, the draw, when they're gonna everyone's gonna get seeded through round of 8, it's gonna be very, very interesting, right? Round of 16, it's gonna be very, very, very interesting when it happens. But for now, we just gonna sit back, relax, and enjoy these games. The first games are happening mid-February, 14, 15, something like that, and the next ones are something 23rd, 24th. Let me quickly check when are the games. The games are, if I'm not mistaken, 17th, 18th, and 24th, 25th of February. Arsenal don't play in Champions League till March, just like the top 8 teams, they don't play till March. And time only will tell, but this is something very interesting. There are some big dogs versus some dark horses. There are some unfinished business, let's just say, for example, Benfica and Real Madrid. And then there are generally some very, very exciting matchups, which definitely are going to be very, very nice to watch and follow. So let me know what are your predictions for the knockout phase. Let me know what you think about the draw. If your team is in the draw, how you're feeling about the draw. Like the video, subscribe, and see you guys very, very, very soon. Peace.